Mayor Ives is not available tonight. He's at a previous engagement, so I'll be chairing tonight's meeting. We have one late item to add to the agenda regarding a mobile vending application. All in favor of the addition?
Move. Second.
Anybody opposed? All right. And adoption of the agenda as amended.
Move.
Second.
Good. Carried. Thank you. Tonight we have three delegations. The first delegation is Lee Everson and Ramona Johnson regarding Walking with Our Sisters, Comox Valley. We welcome you up to the stand there. You have 10 minutes to speak, and then you got to use it all. Yeah. Either speak fast or slow, and then there could be some questions after.
Just the clock's missing.
Oh, I got a clock here.
Yeah, it's got the stopwatch on.
Go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you very much for allowing us to present. I'm going to actually move it right over to Ramona because she is actually the one who started working on this project 3 years ago.
But Lee, you know all those figures I took.
After you.
I left all my notes at home this time. Thank you for having us here. I'm Ramona Johnson, and we have been working on WWS, which is Walking with Our Sisters. We are the only place in BC that it's coming to so far, so we're pretty proud of that. And we have been working on this for just over 3 years, and it's arriving pretty darn quick. It's come up really fast. But we wanted to make sure that all of you knew that Walking with Our Sisters was coming to the Comox Valley, and we were the first place and maybe the only place in BC it's coming to. Walking with Our Sisters is a memorial. Well, it started out as an art exhibition that the gallery was going to carry, but then quickly it turned into a memorial. And so now we're treating it as a memorial for the missing and murdered Aboriginal women of Canada. And all of us that are, we're all volunteers, and all of us that are working on it, we just approach as ourselves. So we don't hold any titles with it. We're all just who we are, and we're dealing with the memorial. It arrives on July 31st as our opening ceremony. We have it in our big house, our opening ceremony in our big house, and the events themselves will be held in the Comox Band Hall. And in the band hall, not in the new admin building, it's in the band hall. And closing ceremony will be July 15th. And it's 4 days of install, 4 days of uninstall. And the people in the Comox Valley have been tremendous in helping us. We have well over 200 volunteers so far, and I'm sure we're going to need at least 100 more. But we have so many people that have stepped up to help us to put this on, because it's a really big, turned into a real big event where I just thought it was some bands that I was going to be displaying in the gallery, but it's turned into so much more than that over the years as it's traveled. And we're really happy that it's coming here.
I really like stats, so I did a little bit of research. And in my research, I found that there's 192, as of 2012, there's 192 First Nations women that are missing in BC. And we are the lowest Aboriginal population per province in Canada as well. So unfortunately, we have the highest amount missing and the lowest Aboriginal population. There are 1,181 women currently missing. Again, that stat is only from 2012, so we know the stat is actually higher. Also, we do have, I believe it's 8, just on Vancouver Island that are missing, and some very recent, as just a couple of years. So it's in every place that this bundle travels to, it hits people very, very close to home. And if we are the only place in BC that this bundle will be coming to, Ramona and I and Anne Davies from the Transition Society, it's very important that everybody in BC knows that it's going to be here. We are encouraging people from other provinces to come, book their holidays around it, so they can come and witness. We do have people coming so far as terrorists that are going in a bus, and they're going to come as a group, and they're going to come and show their support. The three main principles of Walking with Our Sisters is to raise the awareness of the missing and murdered First Nations women, to support those families that are grieving. Some have lost their family members from 40 years ago, and they still have heard nothing. so they never get an opportunity to put their family at rest. And also to honor those women. It's very important that we take the time to honor their lives. Does anybody have any questions for us?
Councillor Craig?
Yeah, you mentioned that you need volunteers. What do you need volunteers to do and when?
The ladies from back east, they want us to have 45 volunteers from 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. So that's a lot of volunteers all day. And that's for 4 days for the install and 4 days for the breakdown. So install and deinstall, that's really where right now what we're looking for.
And what day would that be?
July 27th to the 30th. The 31st is our opening ceremony at 1 o'clock, which of course is open to the public. Everybody's welcome to come. I would come early because I'm anticipating it's going to be full.
What we've been trying to encourage for the install and the deinstall is that groups of people come. So we, for instance, we have a group of hospital nurses coming from Vancouver, so they've all booked their holidays around it, so they're coming to install, and I think there's a group of 10 of them coming. So that's the way it's kind of been working, is groups are coming. I just had another church group approach me, and they're bringing a group of 20. So that's what we're trying to get for those 45 people that we need for the 4 days of install and 4 days of uninstall. And then I heard that like there's different groups in town that are trying to get their teams together and come in as themselves and uninstall or install.
Okay. So that's a Monday. I'm just trying to get my work schedule on time. So I was looking for a Monday, but that's good.
Thanks. Any other questions? Councillor
I
Craig?
don't have a question except to say I'm so glad to see that you're getting the kind of support that you're getting, because we all share your path. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Comox Valley is always so supportive in anything that we do. So we're very grateful.
With doing this, we do community conversations that are free for people to attend, and we do have a Facebook page and a website, and we did drop you guys off some packages ahead of time. So please have a look at them, but we do have some community conversations coming up that everybody's welcome to attend. And so far, they've been really well attended, so we're very fortunate that so many people in the valley want to come support us.
And if we did want to volunteer, who do we get in touch with?
You can get in touch with myself if you like, Ken, but there's also the, in the information we gave you, there is a volunteer area there.
Okay, good. Any other questions? Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And next on the agenda, we have James Taylor with the CTRA. James?
Yes, well, excuse me, thanks very much for this opportunity. Yeah, I'm speaking on behalf of the Comoxtown Residents Association, and right from the get-go, I'd like to acknowledge that we're very aware of how difficult it is to keep the heart of a community vital and energetic, and having people be there and have businesses flourish is a very difficult task. And my impression is that it's a task that faces most communities in North America, with our suburbs and our cores really dying quite often. We'd also acknowledge that very often the solution to this is to try and increase the density of people living in the downtown of the community. And there are very good reasons for that you're aware of. There's no roadmap for doing this, and of course different approaches are used by different communities. For example, if you compare Courtney and Qualicum, very, very different approaches. The stakes are high for the businesses that are downtown, the developers, and also for the citizens. And so we have two areas of concern, and flowing from those two areas of concern, we have two requests for council. So the first concern is there adequate effort being made to gather relevant information prior to the decisions being made? I know there's never going to be enough information to make a perfect decision, but could we be doing more? The example that I'm choosing to speak on tonight is the example of parking. We're aware that the bylaws have changed to try and encourage people in downtown Comox to more and more get used to the idea of walking or cycling in the downtown, or possibly use public transit to get to the downtown. And the question in our minds was, well, was enough information gathered before those parking bylaws were changed? And we were curious about that. And so we decided to try and do an initiative of our own. We were curious, why are people coming downtown? Where are they going? When are they doing it? And basically what proportion of the spaces downtown are being filled. We weren't aware of any information to speak of on that matter, although I stand to be corrected. So what we have done is we have conducted a survey over 5 different periods of time for gathering information. And we have counted the number of available parking spots as well as the number of spaces that are actually occupied. On Friday of this week, we'll be meeting with the planning department to share our findings on that and hopefully get more direction from them, if they wish to let us know what other kinds of information would help to supplement that, to help us make better decisions. I think it's pretty clear, but the reason we're concerned about parking is if you're going to densify a downtown, then you have no, at this point anyways, very little more wiggle room for parking. How is this going to work its way out? Now, I'm also aware of a perception among some people that our Comox Town Residents Association is seen as often being not in favor of development. And I haven't been with the organization that long, but I will tell you that that is not the perception that I share at all. I believe it's a deep-seated belief that we believe that businesses, first of all, need to be healthy and functioning well in a community because they're important members of the community. They're also often residents of the community, and we depend on them for our services and for goods that we buy in the community, and we think it's important to support them. We also realize that even though at a personal level change is very difficult to accept, it's absolutely necessary. It has to be, because otherwise we tend to wither and die. So I guess our first concern, to restate it again, is, are we getting the kind of information that we require? Can we, as an organization, be helpful in getting more of that information, or to maybe looking in directions where we might seek additional information? The second concern that we have is concerns adequate opportunities for the interested parties to speak together. Now, I have the opportunity to speak with you tonight, but it's obviously not an appropriate venue for a back and forth discussion. Now, we would really like to see all parties involved have that chance to speak with each other. And when I talk about the parties and interested parties, I'm talking about local businesses, members of our organization, members of the community generally. Hopefully, you as politicians, our staff, if we're comfortable doing it, especially staff, we would really like that opportunity to just discuss the direction things are going in. And I know that some of you are probably thinking, well, we've already had a notice of the meeting that was very extensive and it was very well organized by the Arlington Group. What else is there to say? My response to that is that it was a thorough and a very helpful process, but how many of us actually focused our thoughts on what specifically was going to happen in the downtown? How much interest is there in it? What are our views on that? I would like to be able to tell you that our residents can tell you what the citizens want to think. But we can't. We need to do our own surveying and get our own information before we can speak with any kind of authority. But I would say, based on the recent hearings of a certain TEL that is being proposed, or TEL development being proposed, that's a real problem. And the community seems to be pretty easy about it and have the direction we should go in.
So, if I could just interrupt you right there.
Yes.
As we talked earlier, we can't go in that direction.
Nor am I.
No, okay.
So all I'm saying, Mr. Chair, is that there seems to be a lot of interest in the community, and the community seems to be divided as to the thoughts of how development is progress. So just in other words, I'm not trying to discourage at all. Now, I mentioned earlier that the stakes can be very high for development for a lot of people involved. It makes me sad to see a really beautiful building in our downtown not working as a developer. I feel sad for him. I feel badly because it is a beautiful building. And I also feel badly in the case of the Harbor Center, what we had to give up to get that. There was a time in our ocean cities when there were 9 corridors that were specifically really important to protect of our ocean, and we are now down in from my viewpoint, to essentially none. So to get something, you have to give something, but did it work out well in this case? Would more information, would more discussion have helped about the placing of the building, of the appropriateness of the building, all those kinds of things? We feel that very possibly it would help. The kind of consultations that were done were extensive, but what we would really like to see are more informal situations, call them roundtables or something along those lines, where people can simply talk, don't have to worry so much about the formalities, but can begin to understand each other's needs and wishes and how things actually operate. I think too often we operate in silos, and this does not work well for anyone, least of all our developers and our town as a whole. So here are what our requests are. The first request is that would you please consider holding off and expanding the area that we're looking at for the downtown revitalization, and also some of the other changes involved in that. Not saying it's a bad idea, but have you as a council had a chance to really evaluate, is this working the way you intended? How much development interest have you found? Is it working the way you hoped that it would? Obviously, again, there's a price to be paid for this. This has tax implications for citizens. It has implications for how our downtown looks. Is this turning out the way you expected? Can you give it a little longer to assess if it's working or not working? So that would be our first request. Please put a moratorium on this until maybe you have some more information. The second one is, would you be willing to participate in something like these roundtables where various parties actually speak with each other rather than at each other? Have you any interest in doing something like that? And if you do, I think we would certainly try and make an effort to host them or figure out some way of participating in them so that various interested parties can speak with each other. So that is all I really have to say tonight. I do appreciate the chance to address you, and thank you. Do you have any questions?
James, I just have one question. You talked about expanding our vitalization program.
Yes.
I wasn't aware we were expanding it.
Well,
thought we were extending it.
Maybe I'm misreading this. Maybe extending is a word I should have used, Ken. But when I look at the fact that geographically a larger area is now being considered, and I believe this is the second,
No.
Because when I looked at the maps and actually highlighted them, it looked to me like there was an expansion. So I may be mistaken
We're
here.
simply extending the dates.
Oh, okay. So good to know that, because when I compared the original OCP maps and the map that was shown in the paper, they did not match, and that's why I assumed it was being expanded. So thanks for the comment.
Do we want to get any input from the planner on that? Is there anything that you would like to add?
Councillor Grant is correct. The bylaw before you today does not extend the area whatsoever. So the downtown revite area remains the same.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Price?
Yes, I like the idea of roundtables. I think we all have something to bring. Were you seeing it that the council would be hosting them, or that citizens would be hosting them?
I would love to see the initiative take place on behalf of council to do an initiative of this type. And if that is not something that you're comfortable with, then perhaps we as an organization, and we'd have to obviously decide as an organization if we're capable of doing this, but consider hosting some of these roundtables and see what kind of interest there is from the business community and other people to participate in that.
Because there's certainly value in that.
Yeah.
There's more neutrality as well.
Exactly. All right.
I do believe with Councillor McKinnon putting the Coffee with Councillors program together, that's a bit of an avenue for people to talk. Myself, I just wonder if we were to gather in a group somewhere, where's the transparency? You know, something like that, we need to be in the open, we need to be talking about that so that all the citizens have some input. So I like your idea. I think we'd have to speak about it, at a later date too, of how our role would play in that.
Yeah, and again, it's always difficult for politicians because they're always on the hot seat. Difficult for staff as well to participate in these things. Having said that, if it is open by invitation to those people who are interested, and if it's in a public venue of some kind, then presumably it has that ability to be seen as being open and transparent.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Any further questions? None? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
And we have Marilyn Macham. Come on down.
hope there's no price.
Yeah. Go ahead, Meryl.
Thank you very much for today. Can you hear me? Thank you. I didn't talk to James before I came to talk to you, so I have a little bit that's the same as what he has, but I am a concerned citizen and I love Comox and I follow the politics quite closely, so these are my ideas. There are 6 concerns I wish to address regarding the proposed Comox downtown tax exemption. The first one is that this tax exemption has been in effect for a year, and as far as we know, has not attracted a new developer to apply to build residential units in the downtown area. New development proposals have not come forward as a result of offering tax breaks. And if this plan is turning out to be unsuccessful, why is the town proposing to continue the tax exemption for another year? The second problem I see, Len, is that it encourages unrestricted height. There's a 100% tax rate on residential units for 5 to 8 years for a proposal that includes 4 or more stories. This plan removes the checks and balances so carefully set out in our official community plan, which was developed over 2 years with extensive input from the residents of Comox. Those guidelines are there for a reason. They're there to preserve and protect the charming small town atmosphere of the place where we live. It is my understanding that during the development of the OCP, the downtown was to have a 3-story unit. When the OCP was written, it had this 3-story unit cut, allowed for up to 5 stories on 3 specific sites. Now 3 stories have become 4 in the OCP, and the tax exemption is for unrestricted height. Now the third and fourth problems go together. They are the cost to the taxpayer and the lack of a referendum to determine if the taxpayers would accept this. If a developer is not paying taxes, the loss of income for the town of Comox has to be made up by the Comox taxpayers. Over 8 years, for example, this could amount to $250,000 or more in lost revenue per property under this tax exemption plan. For several properties, the cost to the taxpayer will be in the millions of dollars. There needs to be a referendum regarding this transfer of tax burden to residents. The fifth problem is that the proposed tax exemption bylaw is just part of a plan which was created in relative isolation from the community as a whole. It was part of the Comox Downtown Revitalization Plan, which was developed ostensibly to help the existing merchants increase sales and encouraging new businesses to open. Who was consulted about how this plan might work? I understand that several BIA members were invited to help shape downtown development policy. They represent the commercial side of things. That means over 90% of Comox residents were left out of this very important conversation, one that could profoundly affect the future of our downtown, an area which we all share. Now the sixth and perhaps the most serious problem, as I see it, is its premature introduction. To propose making major changes to the public of town without a carefully developed design guideline shows a serious lack of vision and judgment. This appears to be a piecemeal process, a whack-a-mole version of town planning, where we are offering a monetary incentive and letting the developers come up with their own designs, one project at a time. Having a hodgepodge of developments throughout a now greatly expanded downtown area could be disastrous and not conducive to creating an environment which people consider as a place where they would like to shop, dine, or visit. This would be a good time to take a break in this revitalization process in order to come up with an overall visual concept of how we would like our town to look. a cohesive plan which will create that small town atmosphere we crave, one that celebrates our unique location by the sea. So let's get our town vision figured out first before we get thoroughly down some of the aspects of this path. One of the ways this vision could be achieved is by holding a design charrette, a workshop led by a professional charrette leader, which would be attended by residents interested in the future direction of their downtown. At the end of the day, a plan is prepared illustrating the vision for a downtown. This is not the same as the OCP. It is a powerful tool for attracting investment and is widely used by progressive communities worldwide. If the town is not willing to hold a charrette, it could be done as a citizen-led incentive, which could be pulled together fairly quickly. I think that this lack of architectural direction is one of the reasons why developers are not falling all over themselves to build in Comox. Tax exceptions are an inadequate incentive if a potential developer feels unsure of what exactly a community wants and expects. It may also be an unnecessary incentive once the town vision is clearly defined. So, just in summing up, my concerns are, 1, loss of income, perhaps millions of dollars, which taxpayers have to make up. 2, failure to hold a referendum. 3, introducing the inappropriate concept of unrestricted height for developments. 4, a plan that was created in relative isolation without acceptable public consultation. 5, premature introduction with a lack of cohesive vision and inadequate design body. So I too have some recommendations. First, to take a break in this process to allow time for the creation of a downtown vision in consultation with the community that will guide us successfully into the future. This would follow the work done by other progressive communities. Second, there should be a referendum to see if the residents agree to carry the cost of the tax burden for downtown residential development. And third, any downtown tax incentive needs to conform to the OCP in terms of height restrictions. This would remove the 4 stories or more phrasing from any tax exemption bylaw and specify maximum heights. Thank you very much for listening to my thoughts on the matter.
Thank you. Any questions?
I just have a couple of questions for the planner. This program is a tax deferral, so there is no cost to the taxpayer. So I think you're incorrect with that thought. The height, in my opinion, and the planner can help me on this, is the OCP. Our incentive program actually doesn't deal with height, and we picked 4 sites to go higher, and those are the only ones that you could even discuss going beyond the limits that we've already got. So just I want to make sure that we're not getting bad information here, that we're all on the same page. So could you address the height and the cost issue?
Certainly. In regards to cost, the program is structured such that it has a $50,000 budget allowance for foregone revenue, tax revenue, and a $50,000 budget allowance for foregone building permit application fees. And that is monitored along with the program on 6-month intervals. So that's why you've had your update report, the 6-month interval, and then at 1 year you had a following report, and now the renewal. And it's proposed in the bylaw to extend the program that 6-month interval be maintained. In terms of tax reductions, there is no reduction on the land taxation. There is no reduction on the non-residential portion. So in regards to, if you look at a tax loss in regards to what is currently being derived from the property, the only tax loss would be if it had some residential units that on that improvement for the period. So, for example, if you had an existing commercial building with 2 apartments over top that was then demolished and made way for a ground floor commercial with 6 apartments on top. Essentially, those two existing ones, you were not receiving the revenue that you did in the past. Where there is no residential, existing residential on the property, there is no loss in residential revenue. The height, the official community plan is the guiding document that, under statute, council cannot enact anything, including a revitalization program that is in conflict with the official community plan. The official community plan specifically states in the downtown development permit area that we're looking at a maximum height of 4 stories. It also then identifies certain sites that can be above 4 stories. The actual regulation is through zoning. Any changes, the majority of the downtown is currently zoned for a 10-meter height maximum, which equates to 3 stories. Anything above that would have to apply for a rezoning application, which under the town's rules would trigger pre-application consultation, 2 meetings of pre-application consultation before an application is submitted. Council would have the option of having an open house prior to bylaw introduction, and then there would be the mandatory public hearing. In no way does the downtown revitalization bylaw conflict with the official community plan, nor does it bind council in terms of changing the zoning. It provides no guidance on that whatsoever. It's just that should council wish to enact through zoning certain provisions that are in the official community plan in terms of height maximums, it would be consistent with it.
And the last question I had for you was regarding design guidelines. We actually have quite a few design guidelines that we do. So to say that we have none is not actually fair, I don't think. We do that. It was part of our official community plan, as I recall. So could you just give us an update on that as well?
Part of the official community plan was a total revamping of our downtown, of all of our design guidelines. We have very extensive downtown design guidelines. Those design guidelines get into architectural principles of massing, in terms of detail and the street focus, to reduce the appearance of height or massing, landscaping, parking, building design. They do not require all buildings to follow a specific architectural design. For example, what you would, West Coast timber. No, they do not require them all to be that. They are not something that is typically seen in terms of a mall development, where you have everything in one design. It's one comprehensive design. Not only do they fit together, but they are all the same design. It does require that designs be compatible and that they meet certain architectural principles. So yes, that is, we do have, in terms of our design guidelines, we have nearly, on the more restrictive end of those design guidelines.
Thank you.
Any further questions? None? Thank you very much, Marilyn.
Do I get a chance to say something more? Because I'm thinking that the design guidelines you're talking about are very technical. And I'm talking about aesthetics. And you also mentioned that there's no tax burden on the people of Comox, but somebody has to pay it. If the developer's not paying it, you say it's just deferred, is he going to pay all that all of a sudden at the end of the 8 years? Is he going to pay it back?
I'd be happy to explain that in more detail.
Okay, it's just that this is on camera. I kind of feel slightly attacked. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. All right, having no further delegations, we'll move on to minutes of the regular council meeting minutes for approval. All in favor?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, carried. And we have special council meeting minutes from the May 20th for approval.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, vote. Carried.
No.
Vote, all in favor? Yes.
Oh, that too.
Yeah, that too. And for the committee of the whole meeting minutes from the committee of the whole Wednesday, May the 27th.
Move receipt.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Okay, thank you. Did I get that right that time, Sean? Good, thank you. We only went over this 5 times before. Okay, so under the committee of the whole meeting minutes, we have 3 recommendations. Committee recommendations, number 1, the use of outdoor gas fireplaces. That the Comox Fire Prevention and Regulation Bylaw 2007 be amended to allow the use of outdoor gas, that being natural or propane fireplaces.
Move.
Second.
Any discussion? In favor? Opposed? Carried. Number 2, we have the disposal of surplus fire department pickup truck. The council approved the disposition of a surplus 1998 fire department pickup truck by transferring ownership to Ships Point Fire Department in exchange for $1,000.
Move.
Second.
And all in favor? Opposed? Carried.
I'm against the next one.
Okay, the next one.
Oh, it's already in place.
I'm in there. Wait a minute, let me hide that.
They're using it.
So the third one is the parklets. That staff be directed to proceed with allowing the establishment of a parklet cafe on a trial basis by the Comox Grind in accordance with planning report PR 15-10.
Move. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? All right, that's carried. And I would like to acknowledge staff for quickly moving that through, and I think that's a great addition to a little downtown core. And good work on that. Thank you. The special council meeting minutes, that the minutes of the special meeting of council held in council chambers on Wednesday, June the 10th, be approved.
Move.
Second.
Discussion? All right, all in favor? And carried. We don't have any committee reports. Unfinished business, page 29, we have the management report for receipts.
Move receipt.
Second.
Right. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And we have the rezoning application, RZ 14-6. That's the development variance permit application, DVP 14-4 at 1630 Balmoral Avenue, Lot 8 Plan, 16636.
Move adoption.
Second.
Seconder. And do we have any discussion on that? All right, all in favor?
I'll move that the development variance permit be issued.
Seconder.
Second.
All right, and do we have any discussion on that one? All in favor? And that's carried, thank you. And page 43, we have the planning report, PR 15-4, extension of Comox Downtown Vitalization Program, Comox Downtown Revitalization Tax Exemption Bylaw Amendment number 1810, that's Comox Planning Procedure Bylaw Amendment number 1811. And I do have one question on that for staff. How long are we looking at for that extension?
1 year.
1 year? Okay, thank you very much. So,
So I would move adoption.
all right. So the seconder on that? Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Just to say, this was seen as a pilot. Isn't that the case? And this extension is because there has been a little take-up on it. And so we are, nothing has changed from the original pilot except that it's extending it for 1 year. Is that correct?
Correct. In the bylaw, there is some additional, some amendments in terms of definitions to be very clear on things like height. And there is also an allowance in terms of parcel coverage to have the parcel coverage reduced from 60 to 50% in light of the large number of small parcels in the downtown area for which underground parking is a requirement.
Thank you.
Thank you, and Councillor McKinney.
Just in relation to the one of the speakers who spoke at the beginning of the meeting, there's some questions that and confusion that I think can be clarified by our town planner, and I'm wondering if there's an opportunity that the town planner or the staff might see as an opportunity to clarify more extensively the downtown revitalization program to citizens.
Yes, we'd be happy to meet with them.
How would you suggest a citizen or a citizens group get clarification?
Simply contact us and we're happy to be at their convenience.
Any further questions? All right, so we had a mover, seconder, and all in favor? And opposed?
Now, should I move adoption of bylaw number 1811? I wasn't clear which one I actually adopted there, so I'll do that if you like.
All right, so we have a mover for number 2, the Comox Planning Procedure Amendment Bylaw number 1811 be adopted. Seconder on that one?
I'll second that one as well.
Okay, for discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, carried, thank you. And we have some special reports. Page 53, we have the Comox Valley Regional District meeting minutes for receipt.
Move receipt.
Seconder? All right, and for discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. And so that was both of those. And under bylaws, page 67, we have bylaw number 1807. That's the Night Road Sanitary Sewer Main Extension Capital Fee Amendment Bylaw number 1.
Move adoption.
Second.
Seconder. All in favor? Sorry, discussion? Favor? Opposed? Carried. And page 69, we have bylaw number 1813, Comox Fire Prevention and Regulation Bylaw Amendment number 5.
I'll move first, second, and third reading.
All right, seconder on that?
Second.
All right, do we have any discussion? All in favor? All right, thank you, it's carried. All right, that was actually pretty painless. We're getting there.
So far.
Yeah, so far.
Still time.
Yeah. Thank you, encouragement. Under new business, we have the website redesign survey responses, and there's a recommendation on page 71. And let's see, so for recommendation, we have the council appoint a committee, including up to 3 council members, to review the website redesign survey responses and draft the website redesign parameters.
I would move that.
All right, seconder. Thank you. And any discussion on that? All in favor? Okay, great, thank you. And we're down to the rezoning application, RZ 15-4 at 2116 Downey Avenue. And we're looking at the first, second, and third reading that we earlier did with the Comox zoning bylaw amendment number 1808 to be rescinded.
I'll move that.
All right, second.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Okay, thank you. Number 2, the Comox zoning bylaw, the Comox zoning amendment bylaw number 1812 be given first, second, third reading.
Move.
Just
No, just first and second.
Oh, sorry, first and second
Yeah,
reading.
but it doesn't have
Yes,
third.
all right, okay. All right, so I'll say that again. The Comox zoning bylaw, amendment bylaw number 1812 be given first and second reading.
Move.
And seconder for discussion. All in favor? Thank you. And number 3, that a public hearing be scheduled for bylaw number 1812 and be located at Council Chambers at 1801B Beaufort Avenue.
Move.
Second.
All right, discussion. In favor? Thank you very much. Okay. For correspondence, for receipt, we have Myron Paschuk. He's written to us about the dangers of living on Back Road.
I would move receipt. I'm just wondering if, we used to have a traffic safety, if we still got that, because this guy's actually asking for some consultation with other jurisdictions. Most of what he's talking about isn't within our jurisdiction, so should we receive that, or should we send it on, or what should we do?
Receive and refer.
Yeah, that's what
Okay, so I would say receiving, if we could add, referring it to
To the various
Courtney and
agencies.
Regional District and Comox First Nations, I guess, because they're part of that too.
Councilor McKinnon?
Just to clarify, if we do that, this citizen will get a response from one of those jurisdictions, correct?
Will we respond to him saying that we've forwarded on to the various agencies? Okay, so that's what will happen. All right, so we have that. Do we just acknowledge that, correct? We're not passing? We're not.
Well, we just received and refer.
Okay, so refer, and so all in favor? And any discussion? All right, so that's passed. Okay. Number 2, the Harvey Goodman, RDH Building Engineering Limited, the Public Works Yard Project.
Move receipt.
All right.
Second.
And we have any discussion on that? All in favor? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. And Yana, you are not alone. The Simon Cycle Ride coming up.
Move receipt and that we grant the request they're asking for.
Second that.
Second that. Discussion. Okay, all in favor? Good, that's carried. Thank you very much. And we do have a late item. Yes, and that is the recommendation that the mobile vending vehicle application, from Manoja Gangwadang to operate a food truck under the business name Ceylon Cuisine and Spices in Marina Park will be approved for the period of June 18th to September 30th,
Move.
2015.
Second.
Seconder. All right, any discussion on that? Councilor McKinnon.
Just a question on where the site would be for that, or is there?
Right, and I'll refer that to staff. We did talk about that earlier. We were talking about just under the willow tree here, is that correct? Yeah, okay.
So it will be a common site.
So that will be there for the period. Now, maybe I can clarify with staff, that's permanently there, or they're taking it away at night?
I'm not sure of that.
Okay.
I'm assuming it will be left.
Okay,
But it is mobile, so they could
right.
take it if they wanted to.
So are we looking at it being a cart, a truck, like a motor vehicle type of?
It's a motor vehicle
Mhm.
and
I think
it's
that's a cart.
fully self-contained.
Okay.
So all they need is power. So
Okay.
they have their own rainwater container.
Correct,
So
yeah.
they will be moving it to discharge.
Right.
basically.
Right, yes, I read that. Okay, sounds good. So, do we have a mover on that?
Oh, yeah, move.
Oh, you have a second, yeah, okay, and so, all in favor? All right, and that is carried, thank you very much. And I think we're complete with the delegations, reports from members of, Mr. Councilman McKinnon?
Just a question, Your Worship, and I apologize for bringing it up late, but not really. The speakers that spoke today, someone mentioned here, we should have a chance as council to discuss the ideas brought up there. When would we discuss that?
I would have to refer to my trusty acting CAO to help me with that one.
I think the first step would be for staff to have a discussion, and then if council would like some report, then we could do that.
Okay?
That's good.
So, thanks for that clarification.
Thank you. Okay, reports from members of council, and we'll start with Councillor Mark Grant.
Oh, you did do that, and I can't find my notes.
You're speechless.
I have my
Oh.
hand without my notes. Well, first of all, I attended my CSWM meeting, yes, and the hospital board. It was very, very informative. I've learned more. One thing I did learn, I have to share with you.
we took a wonderful tour of the, I call it the dump. That's perfectly incorrect. It is now the Comox Strathcona Waste Management Center. Yes. And I am so impressed. My goodness. I think everyone should make sure that's on their agenda at some point, because they are using our money well. It was a surprise, wasn't it? I was really impressed with everything that I saw there. Also, library. Oh, for heaven's sakes, there just happens to be a little bit of advertising here. This is very important because obviously the library is preparing their strategic future, and they're hoping to get lots of input from the community, so that would be one. One other issue, having attended the library meeting in Nanaimo on Saturday, the board in March all approved unanimously that we would support small rural communities and extensions of their hours, because some of them are open only for 2 or 3 hours in a week. And everyone approved of that, providing it was revenue neutral. So those are discussions that are ongoing, as you can imagine, with the library board. Also, I went to the seniors meeting, and they are still very grateful to the town and to Al Fraser for all of the good things that happened there. And there's one more on my list, and I can't remember what it is, so I'll tell you next time.
All right, looking forward to it. Thank you very much, Councillor McKinnon.
Yes, I was honored to attend my first FCM in Edmonton, and attended a number of workshops and tours and networking there. And I'd like to make a recommendation. I found it very, very valuable, and I'm wondering if there's some form of making a summary report that we could share with other councillors when we go to conventions like that. And I just leave it as food for thought now on my report, that there's so much valuable stuff there that I feel I have not shared it enough with councillors, and it's some extra work for us, but I think that might be an idea worth considering. And I will say that I've never been prouder to be a Canadian for 2 reasons. One, at the soccer game when Canada, with 53,000 people at the women's soccer game, and secondly, meeting and talking to delegates from across Canada that are so proud of their communities, regardless of the size of their community. It sounds corny, but it was very, very moving and special for me, and I was extremely proud to be a councillor representing my community there. I'll just carry on here. I attended a homeless coalition meeting on June 10th, school district retirement function for retiring employees, the Comox Valley Concert Band performance down at Marina Park this past Sunday, and I'd like to encourage that group to continue to do that. It was very well attended. Glacier View graduation today, Comox Valley Multicultural Society barbecue, and I think I didn't mention this last time, but the elected officials emergency preparedness workshop on May 27th. So busy times, and might consider making a report if we go to conventions to each other, if that has any merit. Future discussion.
The teacher in you is coming out and giving us homework, are you? Yeah, thank you. Councillor Price.
So with Director Bob Wells as Chair of the Water Committee and myself as the Vice Chair of the Water Committee, we had 2 meetings, one with our MLA, John McCrae, and one with Dr. Shemaine Enns about the Perseverance Creek and how we deal with Dr. Shemaine Enns' requirements that we cap the area where the clay that caused the turbidity went into the water. So basically looking for funding and support. I also went to the Philberg Lodge celebration at the cafe, which was makes you realise what an incredible place we have down there. There was a special in-camera board meeting. We the 3L court case in which we rose and report that we are challenging repealing the decision and respectfully disappointing the court decision. I attended the regular board meeting and Comox Valley Emergency Preparedness, and chaired the teleconference on the AVICC Solid Waste Special Committee. in preparation for a workshop on Friday. 9 regional districts coming together to see how we can work together on solid waste. And today and yesterday attended 2 days of RD strategic planning with Gordon McIntosh, and it was very good. It was he came to us with no more than 5 priorities is what is workable, and that we tend to get into these long lists without timelines and directions. And so we did, I think we worked very well together, and we did come down to the 5 priorities of water governance, water protection plan, the pump station number 2 to get the line off the beach, homelessness and flood mitigation, beginning first of all with Queen's Pitch, and with timelines and people responsible for action. And I also went to FCM.
You had time to go to FCM?
I'm, yes, busy. And yeah, it was very good. And there were some very good study tours, one on Edmonton revitalization, and it was particularly good to be able to see where they are doing the rainwater catchment areas under the streets. They're creating new streets, and you could look in and see what we will be actually doing up in the northeast area of Comox, and actually see the technology and their affordable housing, that they did look to create affordable housing in the area, that they displaced a lot of people, and there's some real state-of-the-art stuff for handicapped. And also the climate change one, which was quite stunning in the messaging, and that really that we have to get on with adaptation to climate change. We're not going to stop it, but we can slow it down, and we have to get into adaptation, particularly on the flooding issues. And the CNN rail, I took that one and saw that how terrible our rail lines are, which makes one wonder whether we could ever bring our ENN railway track up to the standard that they were running their trains on. It's when you see proper train lines and the amount of maintenance and yeah, so.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Swift.
Okay. Well, looking back in my calendar, I also had the emergency planning session on my list because I don't know whether we reported out on it or not. I think we might have, because we talked about there being a good overview of the provincial policies, but lacking in a bit of local information. And I know Richard County is organizing something for the fall for us, so I'm looking forward to that. I attended the Philbrook Showcase, which was an opportunity for the Philbrook Society to talk about their upcoming season of activities and concerts, and they really do have some good Thursday evening concerts, so I encourage everyone to go online, have a look at their programming, and see if you can attend. I went to the FCM, and always it was interesting and informative, and one of the actual highlights for me was right at the very beginning when this group of women came and sang the national anthem in 3 languages, Cree, French, and English. And the group is called Asani, and it's available if you go on YouTube. And I would encourage you to do that sometime because it was really moving. I attended workshops on civic engagement, asset management, digital media, and shopping the neighborhood, which was kind of fun. I attended a study tour called Dollars and Cents, where we learned how Edmonton had accelerated their infrastructure renewal program, and they had begun a program to revitalize their downtown. Some of what they've done would probably not work for us. Bigger center, different province, they had some provincial help as well. The other study tour I attended was Talking Trash, which was a tour of Edmonton's solid waste disposal system, and it was very impressive. They have some partnerships with different companies, and by the end of this year, I believe it is, they will be diverting 90% of their waste. So it was pretty impressive. And then last week, I went to our solid waste management center, and we toured our local facility. And I think, you know, we're doing a good job. But what was disturbing to see was so much recyclable material being discarded into our landfill. And it's really a good reminder that good waste management begins with each one of us. And I think we really need to get that message out there. At the meeting, it was also worth noting that Campbell River has applied to the Strategic Priorities Fund for a grant to start up an organics recycling program up their way. And not lastly, but I attended the regional hospital meeting that day as well. And then today, I replaced Councillor Grant for a few moments this morning in the...
A few hours.
Yeah. Actually, I stayed the whole day because it was pretty interesting at the strategic planning at the regional district level. So it was really interesting, and I think the priorities that were established were really good ones. So it was worthwhile.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I attended the BC Shellfish Fest on the weekend. I attended the kickoff was actually in Marina Park, where the salmon farmers put on a concert in the park with dinner, and that was quite good. We had a lot of people in the park, and it sort of hits one of our goals to use our park more often, so that was good. I also attended the Mayor's Breakfast, and we heard the Ambassador of Norway talk to us about fish farming, as they're one of the leaders in the world in that. I went to the Flying Lobster Extravaganza, and I also went to the luncheon where we heard from the CAO of the Vancouver Aquarium, and he talked about sustainable seafood and how that all works. We also have upcoming the Comox by the Sea Festival at Philbrook Park, which is part of the BC Shellfish Fest on Saturday, and they could use some volunteers, so anybody sitting around the table with nothing to do could do that. I also attended FCM, where I went to an asset management seminar. We tend to be doing a really good job compared to a lot of different communities, so I thought that was kind of refreshing to hear. I also went to one on finding new monies without increasing taxes and fees, and interestingly enough, one of the ways they suggest to do that is through tax deferrals. I went to Dollars and Cents, as you did, and another one of their things was they talked about infrastructure renewal, and to not wait with some of your infrastructure till it's dead, because it costs way more money to replace it, but there's a critical point where it starts to fail, where you can catch it at that point, and it costs a lot less to fix. So again, it was kind of refreshing to hear, because we're doing a really good job of our asset management these days, so that was good. And I also went to one on championing Edmonton's entrepreneurial spirit. I attended the two-day strategic planning, except for this morning, and yesterday morning I missed the morning sessions, but Maureen filled in for me. And just a little bit more on the 3Ls decision that we have appealed at the regional district. The reason we're appealing that is not so much whether we agree or disagree with the proposal, but it's more to do with the ability for the regional district to recapture their fees. Because of this decision, anyone, anytime could come into the regional district and apply for an amendment to the regional growth strategy. We have no ability to recapture the fees, so it could cost up to $20,000 for every person that comes to do that. It also has wider implications in that any regional district with a regional growth strategy has now got the same problem. So we have applied to UBCM for funding to fund the appeal. Our lawyer feels that we have a very good case on this, and so that was the reason for the decision, just in case you were wondering. It's got some fairly significant financial implications for the regional district. So.
Very good, thank you. And I'll be very brief. I attended the BC Shellfish opening night at the Blackfin. Many of the MLAs came there, and it was good to see the provincial support for that we have here in the Valley, and many keynote speakers and study tours at the FCM in Edmonton last weekend, so I'll be brief with that. Media questions, do we have any? Thank you. Do we have any public questions? Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. My name is Lawrence Buser. I represent Comox, and I have 5 questions, actually, so a little bit of a mini council meeting. be the maximum tax exemption under this tax exemption plan for downtown? Given that it could be 8 years, and for the maximum height, maximum number of units, obviously does differ. I'm just wondering what in dollars and cents we might be looking at.
Mr.
The
Planner?
budget allocation council says $50,000.
So it, yes?
Oh, Director of Finance, go ahead.
In your 2015 to 2019 financial plan, you identify annual permissive, or not permissive tax exemptions, annual revitalization tax exemptions of $50,000 per year. So if that were to run for 8 years, potentially a total program cost of $400,000.
So that is for all buildings, if there's 10 or 15, is that correct? Or is it per building?
That's all
All?
at this point in time.
Thank you.
Also, regarding the question on design guidelines that Mr. Grant, Councilor Grant, raised with the planning department, I just want to ask if anyone on council really knows what is in the OCP regarding design guidelines. That's,
Just a point of order. The purpose of questions from the public is for clarification of what we've done. It's not to grill councillors. If they want to talk to us after or before the meetings, then that's the intent. But the intent of questions from the public at this forum is not to put us on the hot seat like this and have us answer direct questions. So.
okay, then I would just like to make a point for the committee or the council that there are only 2 points that I really know of in the OCP about design. And Marine Beam small town atmosphere basically is what it is. It is not design guidelines, which could be a 10 or 20 page document and includes, it's very comprehensive. It's a guideline. It's not a manual that must be followed, but it really sets the tone for the whole downtown so that we have a direction and builders know what to expect. It attracts business and is actually essential in my view to create a successful planning scenario. And since I cannot ask other questions, maybe I will have to come back as a delegation just to raise these points, because I think really we are trying to help the council and help the town. We care about the town just as you do. We're citizens and we want to make some contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further questions? All right, I would say that we are done, and motion to adjourn.
Move. Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Thank you.